All right, my top 100 list is coming to a conclusion in this video with my top 50 list of best players as of right now. I was doing the top 100 list, but I couldn't really figure out the best way to present it. So I'm just going to make a video giving my top 100, giving the list of what it is, or giving my top 50, really. You can find the other list just on this channel. But I figured, hey, top 50 list could be interesting as well. So this is right now, and this is not taking positional value into account. Let's get into it, starting with 50 through 41. So these are the, 50 from 41. You have Jordan Mailata of the Philadelphia Eagles, very impressive offensive lineman. I think he certainly belongs on this list. Very unique story with him of kind of being this physical freak who doesn't know how to play football. The Eagles taught him how to play football, and now he's incredible. Jeffrey Simmons makes the top 50 at 49, one of those great pass-rushing interior defensive linemen. You also have Corey Linsley of the now Los Angeles Chargers, played a while for the Green Bay Packers, fantastic center for them. You also have another Charger. Chargers brought in a couple of guys, that they, added this offseason to, get the top 100. J.C. Jackson being one of those who... I mean, listen, J.C. Jackson was incredible last year. And J.C. Jackson's been incredible really since he's been drafted. So corners are always tricky. How good is he going to be in the future? I don't know, but he's playing fantastic. I know Bill Belichick let him walk, but Bill Belichick does that. I'm going to trust J.C. Jackson can still play. 46, I have Tyrann Mathieu, the new member of the New Orleans Saints. I know some people, in fact, the Saints have three in a four-player stretch, but I know some people do not like Tyrann Mathieu. I know that he is a controversial subject, certainly to say the least, but I just feel like sometimes his issues are due to the fact that he's asked to do so much for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he'll probably get asked to do a lot for the Saints. I think he's a star player. I think he's fantastic. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but I really like him. Moving on to number 45, we have Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints, who has some injury, history, that is fair to say, but he's just a complete game changer when he's on the field. You look at how well that Saints offense ran last year when he was there and when he was not there, it was night and day. He's a tremendous talent and matters a lot. Number 44, we have Derwin James of the Los Angeles Chargers, another guy with injury concerns, but when he's on the field, you could make the argument he's the best safety in football. He is that good, so the injuries is going to dock him a couple of points, but he's still fantastic. Number 43, I put Demario Davis of the New Orleans Saints, one of the real underrated linebackers in this league. Just a guy who, since he's put on a Saints uniform, it's just been he's been unreal. He's been one of the best linebackers, if not the best linebacker in football these past several years. So, kind of a unique story with him as well, but he's been fantastic. Max Crosby at 42, a guy who has consistently gotten better year after year. Some of the other guys ahead of him, I think, have had more good years, but he was fantastic last year, and he's someone who you can expect to maybe get better because he's gotten better every year he's been in the league. So he comes in at 42. And 41, I do have Nick Chubb here. Nick Chubb, very good running back for the Cleveland Browns, someone who's just a star player, and I feel like there's plenty of plays where I watch him play, and I'm like, I don't know who makes that. I don't know if Derrick Henry makes that rush. I don't know if Christian McCaffrey does, so absolutely belongs on this list. Next 10, we're starting off with Joey Bosa, who is, again, a constant. I feel like, Nick Bosa gets, all the credit, but Joey Bosa has been nearly as good in a bigger sample size, so he's unreal. And Kevin Byard at 39, who I had as my number one safety, so he makes the list at 39, but I had him as safety number one just because his coverage has been fantastic, especially last year. It was unbelievable. 38, DeAndre Hopkins, who I feel like DeAndre Hopkins just not getting a ton of playing time. It's maybe sometimes gotten people to forget a little bit how good he is, and he's going to be suspended this next season, so he's going to limit his playing time there as well. I think DeAndre Hopkins is fantastic, and he's one of the best receivers in football when he's on the field. And it's not like he has massive injury history either. It's just been recent. So I'll definitely fight for Hopkins to be high on this list. Quentin Nelson, who might be a bit bigger in name than he is in actual value. I think that's probably fair to say because he was such a hyped-up prospect. But he's still lived up to the hype, and he's still been an incredible guard for the Colts. So 37 on the list. At 36, I do have Micah Parsons, who, for Parsons, I think one of the obvious questions is is this who he is? Is this repeatable? What he did last year was incredible. It was a one-year sample size, but he was so good. I put him at 36, but I couldn't put him higher than some other people just because of that one-year sample size for me. Number 35, we have Darius Leonard, who I've always been a big fan of. Leonard's certainly a better coverage linebacker than Parsons. Might not be able to rush the passer like Parsons can, but Leonard's one of the best, if not the best, coverage linebacker in football. He's fantastic. Number 34, I am going Tyron Smith of the Dallas Cowboys. Keep saying Tyron Smith is all the way back. He was Pro Football Focus's second highest graded tackle last year, and he had over 800 snaps. Like, he played and was really good. Now, again, I do think it is a fair thing to say the guy's got a ton of injuries, got a ton of wear and tear on his body. That is why he's a little bit lower. That's why he's lower than my 33 pick, Tristan Wirfs, who I think, one game of healthy Tyron Smith is certainly better than one game of healthy Tristan Wirfs, but I'm expecting to get more healthy games out of Tristan Wirfs, so I'll take that guy. But, when Smith is on the field, one of the best tackles in the league, and kind of what I said about Wirfs, just to put a cap in that, few guys have come into the league and just had the success that Wirfs has had through 2 seasons. It's been fantastic. Again, still is a bit of a small sample size, but I'm willing to believe that it's the case. I think he's very good. Was an all-pro at right tackle. He belongs high on this list. Number 32, I have Grady Jarrett, who, again, some of his advanced statistics are not going to be that impressive. And I think that, that doesn't mean those statistics are wrong. They just mean that them, like every other thing, needs to be taken in context. Grady Jarrett was with a bad defensive line last year. I mean, he was making things happen on his own, and he still was pretty good. Like, his metrics were still solid, but the reason why they weren't elite, I think, is because of the situation around him, and they were still good because he's amazing. 31, I do have Derrick Henry here, which... Listen, Derrick Henry would be a lot higher if he didn't get hurt last year. But listen, running back, having several seasons now, coming off an injury, that's concerning to me. It just is. Next 10 here, Ryan Ramczyk of the New Orleans Saints. Again, just unbelievable tackle. Only so much you can say, but, guy who does not give up pressures like ever. Like, that's basically what Ryan Ramczyk is. I think he's very underrated, I would say. A.J. Terrell, someone who... Corners are tough because it's like, okay, there is a small sample size here with A.J. Terrell. He's only really had one great season, and corners sometimes, after one great season, will fall off. Like, they're very inconsistent. That being said, he was so great last year, I still have to put him this high up on the list because he was just so fantastic. Maybe this is just who he is. Maybe it's not. Who knows if cornerbacks, they're always a guessing game. And that's kind of my same thing of Marlon Humphrey and why I have him so high. I know a lot of people would put him lower because, let's just be honest. Last year, Marlon Humphrey was not great. Like, there's no getting around it. Part of that was, he had to go up against tough competition. And the Ravens, if I'm talking about Tyrann Mathieu getting a tough assignment, Humphrey got the toughest assignment maybe out of any defensive back in football last year. That was a tough assignment for Marlon Humphrey. And he didn't always hold his own, but he usually did. And I think that he's, someone who I believe the bigger sample size is correct, not the smaller sample size of having a down season. I'm willing to bet on Marlon Humphrey. I still think he is fantastic. Number 27, I have Cooper Kupp, another guy who I can't go too high on someone after one season. Yes, that season was unbelievable, but the bigger sample size with Cooper Kupp tells me that that is not necessarily who he is. He's still a very good wide receiver, but is he this guy last year? Well, I'm not going to say no, right? Maybe he's that guy. Maybe that's just what he is now with Matt Stafford there. That's possible, but the fact that it's only been one season, it's just, smaller sample size. I'm going to give 26 guys the nod because they've had more than one great season. That's why Jamar Chase was lower. That's just how I view this stuff. But even if it's, if he's not last year, he can still be very good because he's had plenty of other good seasons. So I'm not concerned or anything. I'm just saying that's why I put other guys ahead of him. 26, I have Chris Jones, who, again, don't try to make him a defensive end. Do what you typically do. We're having him as a defensive tackle who occasionally goes to, bounces out to defensive end and make it that way, and he's fantastic there. Weird stuff they tried to do at the beginning of last season, and they tried it. It wasn't a horrible strategy, but did not work out. So now Chris Jones, keeping up at defensive tackle, one of the best pass rushing defensive tackles we've ever seen. Just sucks for him that he's playing in the same era as Aaron Donald. 25, we have George Kittle. In 24, we have Mark Andrews. Yes, I have Mark Andrews ahead of George Kittle. If you saw my tight end rankings, you know that this is the case. Mark Andrews, I think by pretty much every metric, was the best tight end in football last year, but George Kittle is right there with him. I mean, George Kittle is also fantastic. Kittle's the better blocker. Andrews is the better receiver, so I give the slight edge to Andrews because that's what I value more. But if you value blocking more, you probably give the edge to Kittle. And it's not like Andrews can't block, and it's not like Kittle can't receive. So these guys are both fantastic, but I do think I give the slight edge to Andrews, but they both belong, in the top 25 here. Number 23, I do have Nick Bosa, who, his brother was on this list as well. He was in the mid-30s, or actually he was at number 40 exactly, actually. Whereas, Bosa, a little bit higher. The guy's been fantastic. He's had some injury concerns. That's probably the only knock against him. But when he's been on the field, he has been a pressure-generating machine. Moving on to 22, Josh Allen, and 21, Joe Burrow. Yeah, I have Joe Burrow higher than Josh Allen. I know some people would flip-flop those, and probably some people would have Josh Allen in the top 10. I still have to say, Josh Allen, I keep saying this because it's true. You can't just judge Josh Allen on his best day. You have to judge Josh Allen on his average day, which is still very good, but it's not quite what he is in the playoffs. In the playoffs, he was unbelievable. He was perfect. And if that's who he is, then he's number one on this list next year. But I just don't know if that's who he is because he has had, he has had some tough games. And not even just like he's had more tough games than like the average guy, but he just had average games as well. And I think that his average day is not as good as Joe Burrow's average day. Joe Burrow's average day is great, which is also funny because Burrow didn't have the playoffs that Josh Allen did, even though his team went further. That's kind of just funny how that works. But I think Joe Burrow was much better in the regular season, which is a bigger sample size, so I'm going to trust that more. But again, I get it. If you're someone who just wants upside, Josh Allen has the upside. Next 10, so we're starting off with Davante Adams. So Adams and, Tyreek Hill, those are, two wide receivers, and they're the highest I have just pure wide receivers making this list. I do have Hill a little bit better just because I like the deep threat option. I just like the fact that, or even like the fact that he can take like a 7-yard route and turn it into a touchdown. Adams, that's not quite his game, so I like the archetype of Tyreek Hill more than the archetype of Davante Adams. That's basically my method there, but they're both just as good as what they're trying to do, and both fantastic players. Number 18, I do have Deshaun Watson here. Listen, again, on the football field, I think Deshaun Watson's actually probably underrated. I think he's an incredible football talent, so I think he belongs here. Number 17, Jair Alexander, who is coming off of an injury, but the previous year he was Pro Football Focus's highest graded corner, and I feel people are forgetting about Jair a little bit because he was gone last year. The injury is a bit, that's kind of the biggest knock against him, but when he's on the football field, he's debatably the best corner in football. Fred Warner is, debatably, and I think is the best linebacker in football. His coverage is fantastic. He can also stop the run as well, and is just, someone who helps the entire team figure out where their assignments are and all of that good stuff. So, big Fred Warner fan. Cam Hayward at 15, another guy who's getting up there in age now at this point, but I mean, talk about a defensive tackle that can stop the run and can rush the passer as well. Does so much, and does so much of the dirty work that allows guys on the edge like a Highsmith, like a TJ Watt, to be able to get pressure. He does all the dirty work for that. 14, you have Travis Kelce, maybe the best receiving tight end of all time. So I do have him as my highest tight end because, listen, I value receiving when it comes to tight ends. I do. And Travis Kelce is as good of a receiving tight end as we've ever seen, maybe better of a receiving tight end than we've ever seen. So I'm going to have him high on this list. Number 13, this is someone who I really struggled figuring out how I wanted to place. Deebo Samuel, because, again, I'm trying to not take value into account. I'm trying to say, okay, how good are you? And he's incredible at two different things. So you have to think that that's very impressive. And I guess, if I look at wide receivers, I'm going to say, okay, what's the added value a wide receiver has? And then when I look at halfbacks, what's the added value a halfback has? And he has added value in both of those categories pretty significantly. He was a top 5 Pro Football Focus rated receiver and halfback last year. So it's really difficult to figure out where exactly to put him on this list, but I don't know, 13 felt right for me. Number 12 and 11, I have Myles Garrett with TJ Watt slightly ahead. I made a whole video talking about the debate between Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, but they should be right next to each other because it is that close. And I think they should be, fringe top 10 guys, if not top 10 guys, because they are that good. But they couldn't quite crack my top 10 here. Have David Bakhtiari, a couple offensive linemen with David Bakhtiari and Zach Martin to be the top two guys. Bakhtiari a tackle, Martin the guard for the Dallas Cowboys. Again, both guys who have been fantastic over their careers. They're star players. I think they clearly deserve a spot on this list. If Bakhtiari, didn't have any injury history, maybe he's a little higher. I don't know. But number 8 is Patrick Mahomes, who some people might have a little higher, which I understand. But again, I did not think he had his best season last year. He's still fantastic, and it's a right now list. If you're giving me one player that's to start a franchise with, I'm taking Mahomes easily. But that's not what we're doing. We're saying right now, who would you take? Taking positional value out of the account, and I still think he's very fantastic. But again, needs to cut down on the turnovers, or really he doesn't. Like I think that he should still play the same way he does, but maybe the luck just the ball didn't bounce his way sometimes in the regular season. It is what it is, but I think there's just a couple other guys I trust more to add more value to a football team at the quarterback position. Number 7, I have Jalen Ramsey, who again. Yes, the Super Bowl happened, which he got burned. He really got burned once. One play happened very late into the play, and the ball didn't go that way. Another one, he got his face, mask ripped off. So, it was really the one play that was a tough one for Ramsey, and, it happens. You get burned sometimes. I mean, he also got burned against Mike Evans. Okay, that's the life of a corner. You're going to have those moments. That's just the way that's the way it's at. Those are the only 2 times that he really got burned deep all season. So, it's not that big of a deal. I just don't think that, yes, okay, a couple important moments in the playoffs he got burned, but you look at the whole body of work, and he had one of the best corner seasons we've seen last year if you take away those couple of plays. So, big Jalen Ramsey guy. Big Tom Brady guy at number 6. So, yes, I have a few players ahead. I have Aaron Rodgers ahead. So, we can talk about those two together. The Rodgers versus Brady debate is interesting. I did think that Brady deserved MVP last year. That's how I felt about it because it's the most valuable player. And him throwing more added more value. It's that simple. But that being said, and him just playing more games added more value. But that being said, I get it. I get why Aaron Rodgers did win, and Brady is getting up there in age. There's just no denying that. So while the play still hasn't dipped off in any way, I think that if the way the criteria for this list is heading into next year, who would I rather have? Give me the guy who's, I feel comfortable, can still play another year and will not fall off a cliff. So I'm going to give the edge to Rodgers there. But again, they're both fantastic, but not in the top 4. So number 4, I have Jonathan Taylor, who, Jonathan Taylor was a complete game changer at the running back position, which is not easy to do. An elite running back can really change things, and he could really change things. Now, it is a small sample size, and that's probably the thing that's knocking him the most. But I just think you look at the average running back, and you look at how much better he was than the average running back, or even the great running backs. You look at the great running backs compared to Jonathan Taylor, and he was that much better. Yeah, I think that he deserves to be in the top 10 here. Number 3, I'm going Justin Tucker, just because, it's fun, but also, Justin Tucker, the GOAT kicker, I'll put him here on this list. I could have put him at number 1 if I wanted to. Again, kind of a guy where it's it almost feels like if you're going to put him on the list, you should put him at 1, but I put him at 3 just because I didn't want to quite put him at number 1. But Justin Tucker's amazing. The guy's unbelievable. We've never seen someone like Justin Tucker. Number 2, Trent Williams, who... you could make an argument for number 1. You really could. He had one of the best offensive lineman seasons we've ever seen last year. Absolute monster. Fits that scheme so well. Does not lose, ever. He makes his block every time. So, number 2, but I could not quite put him above Aaron Donald, the best player I've ever seen. Just an unbelievable talent. I feel like I've said that 1,000 times in this video. But it's true. The value that Aaron Donald brings to a football team is otherworldly. And, we saw it in the Super Bowl. It's not just the actual impact of him making pressure and getting sacks. It's the attention he gets that allows other guys to get pressure and get sacks. But then he also gets pressure and gets sacks. So all of that combined, that is my list. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.